Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Matty B Files. On this episode, we are looking at artificial intelligence, the continuing saga on this podcast, where I'm a researcher of artificial intelligence. I don't know how I got that way, but I did. It's kind of my job. I have to teach AI to AI engineers and telecom executives. As a result, over the past few years, I've developed a database of the ups and downs, the good uses and bad uses, the bullshit and the real life applications of artificial intelligence. So I want to talk about it. Usually I like to talk about music, but we don't always have to talk about music. We can talk about other things. And hopefully in the future, I can get somebody else who also knows about AI and we can have a little back and forth. So if you're like this guy or girl or let's limit it to that, who likes AI and wants to talk about it, hit me up. Contact me at MatthewPMBigelow.com. That's MatthewPMBigelow.com. This is actually a re-upload. I did a previous podcast and I listened to it, and because I'm by myself and I'm in a room and I'm looking at all this data, I found myself sometimes speaking too quickly and not finishing my sentences and beginning other sentences, and then kind of making fun of everything I was trying to highlight. It's just sometimes it happens that way. You feel like you're in a rush to get through things and you end up all of the ingredients of the sandwich aren't really placed the right way, like I learned when I worked at Subway. The sandwich artist follows a pattern for a reason. So let's begin. So one of the reasons I want to talk about AI is because I know about it, and I hate the way that most of the world reports about it. I'm going to begin with I want to talk about like AI fails. When people talk about AI and they write about AI, but they're obviously just totally retarded. Like take Patrice Kane, the chairman and CEO of Thales. Maybe she's not retarded, but the way she writes is, and I should say contradictory instead of retarded. So let's just say that the way Patrice Kane, the chairman and CEO of Thales, writes is hypocritical and subversive. So she begins with this headline: Artificial intelligence, the end of the human race? During the height of summer, an open letter to the United Nations warning of the dangers of artificial intelligence, signed by Tesla CEO Elon Musk and more than 100 other entrepreneurs, caused quite a stir in the media and scientific community. What? What do you mean? The end of the human race? That sounds pretty serious. Caused quite a stir? Doesn't sound very serious. In fact, it kind of sounds blasé, like hoo. We got some gossip. And this is a huge problem with the way artificial intelligence is being written about. And I know why now. It's because the dangerous stuff is super dangerous, and the applicable stuff is kind of boring, actually. And so when people want to attract attention, they will write about the end of the world and artificial intelligence taking over our society. But they don't write about things like, oh, this person installed an artificial intelligence algorithm that monitors light more efficiently in lamps and will darken and illuminate lamps in real time before humans notice that it's too dark or too light. So it just the light automatically shifts in the room according to the amount of sunlight pouring through the windows. And there's some options, like you can make it brighter or you can make it darker yourself, but it could automatically, and it doesn't send the data back to Google or anything. It's just like this in-home device, and it monitors the sunlight over time and optimizes it according to hopefully what your needs are. Like something that boring. Someone who wants to attract wild attention to their opinions about the artificial intelligence phenomenon that's going on is not going to focus on that. So that's what today's theme is all about, actually. It's about the heaven and the hell. And let me clarify this, that I'm not some spiritualist. I don't think that it's the ultimate secret to the end of our society is this singularity event where we go through this needle hole and come out on the other end looking like cyborgs. It's going to be a gradual process, and most of it's probably going to be pretty boring, and not everyone's going to be in on it. But the more you know, you know. So let's begin. So that's a fail. So I really wish people wouldn't write like that. Artificial intelligence, the end of the human race, caused quite a stir. It's very disingenuous, and it's phony. It's fake shit. So let's begin with hell, because hell is sexier, as I just mentioned. There's a lot of good things going on with AI in China. And when I say AI, I don't mean robots that think for themselves and decide whether or not to murder civilians depending on some crime that's going on. I basically just mean an automated process that makes workflow more efficient. And whatever that workflow is can be can become highly more efficient depending on what the application is. So we're going to look at China. China has very good AI applications. For example, for home food delivery, Meituang Dianpang, I don't know if I'm saying it right, I don't care, is a good one. It optimizes routes automatically. People can join for short periods of time and then quit. I don't really view these jobs as jobs that should be well paid. It's like a security net. You know, if you lost your job working at your office, you could possibly find a job making, $5 to $10, $15 an hour. It would really suck. You might have to refinance your entire life, but it's kind of a work safety net that you would be able to take advantage of in case this horrible thing happens to you. Could happen to anybody. On the other hand, though, there's this super crazy evil shit going on over there right now. This is an example of that. China unveils a super surveillance camera that can link to its social credit system. And this is, of course, the social credit system that monitors your actions and then gives you a score. And based on that score, it will either grant you admission to awesome things like high-speed rail and airplane travel, or it will remove your ability to get on airplanes or even send your kids to university. And if your score is low enough, the government will change some governments in China will change your phone ringtone to that of the deadbeat ringtone. It's like a government-sanctioned deadbeat ringtone. Your score is so low, you have the deadbeat ringtone. And when your phone rings, everyone around you knows that your score is low, and they will try to avoid you. And your friends will also have their social credit score reduced if they are your friends. So everybody basically has to disavow you, and good luck getting back on the good scores. So let's take a read here. Trying to slow down, trying to be cool. The social credit system, which rewards good behavior with incentives. Oh, this is coming to us from Zero Hedge. The social credit system, which rewards good behavior with incentives and punishes disobedience by restricting and banning people from buying travel tickets, is currently enforced using a vast network of over 200 million surveillance cameras, as well as other tracking tools. However, the 500 million pixel super camera would take surveillance capabilities to a different level. Scientists noted that the current crop of cameras are able to monitor thousands of people at once, but in each face, each face is in the wide shot can only be represented by a few pixels, meaning you, quote, couldn't clearly see your targeted person at all. The data from the video will be fed into a pool of data combined with AI processing, can generate tools for social control, including tools linked to the social credit system. Of course, this type of thing is fine and all because it's all the way in China, right? Wrong. So this is saying that with your social credit system, the cameras monitor you and transfer a lot of the visual data into a code, and then that code is sent to a edge device for IoT, and that just means a processing unit near some other things connected to the internet. and then that edge device can upload data to the cloud. It essentially makes data management more manageable in the way that if you had 200 million cameras all streaming HD, 4K, or 8K video at once, it might sort of terrorize the bandwidth of your network. However, if each camera converts actionable data into a code, like say somebody is running and that code is R, say somebody is waving their hands and that code is WH, say somebody is waving a knife and that is knife plus a star, and a star could be like crime or something like that, take notice officers. Then the data goes from 8K video data streaming in real time to just kind of bits, essentially. It's like 1, 2, 5, 7, 8, 9, 4, 6, 7, 8. And that data gets processed through the cloud. So that's why the camera network is so efficient in China, because probably not all of the data is being video streamed in real time. However, if some sort of notification gets sent to a security operations center, an officer there would be able to access that camera, and then that camera's data stream is turned on and then sent through the network. Of course, that takes up bandwidth and all, but at the same time, it's far less bandwidth than activating all of the cameras at once. Of course, doing so would be an interesting way to hack a system in order to sort of do an internal meltdown regarding the amount of data being sent through the bandwidth. It's pretty interesting stuff. However, this is the hell version, isn't it? So just having a camera that, like, you're running across the road, you're jaywalking, it catches your face, then the camera notifies the police see who you are, then the police access your phone wallet, and then they go into your phone wallet and take out $50, and now you've automatically paid, and now you don't have to have a letter sent to your house, and you don't have to go down to a payment place and pay it. It automatically comes out. It's kind of evil, but it's not like the darkest of the dark. It's not really hell. So if we go over to hell, it would be using this type of system by corrupt officials to hunt for organ trafficking. Organ trafficking, I think, is pretty legit going on in China. There's the dissenters who have healthy bodies known as the Falun Gong. It's considered illegal to practice. They don't eat meat. I think they just live healthy lives and do a lot of stretching en masse. I don't know why the Chinese Communist Party considers that to be an illegal movement in threat of traditional Chinese values. I don't really know. However, for corrupt officials that spend all their days kind of drinking, suffering from organ failure, or who have families who have organ failure, the Falun Gong makes a perfect victimized segment of society that is susceptible to the abuse of artificial intelligence in order to harvest their organs. This is pretty well documented. Hell, I have 7 organs harvested from, no, I don't have any, from the Falun Gong. So based on what I just was saying, the ability of these cameras to compile a mass amount of data in real time through coding the pixelated data cameras see, so we can have people of faith targeted by AI. And this comes to us from the AIorganization.com. I'm not really using it because I love this website. I'm just using it as a reference point. These are all being included in the show notes, by the way, so please feel free to check it out. Also, like and subscribe, even though I hate saying that. Everybody else does it, so why not me? I am basically an AI program repeating patterns that I see on the internet. Since the 1980s, the Chinese regime has been targeting people of faith for organ trafficking. Historically, so insensitive though. So historically, the Chinese did not have a donation system larger than 3,000 organs a year, or people. In 2006, Nobel nominees David Matas and Secretary of State David Kilgore busted China's organ trafficking ring. They highlighted that 42,500 organ transplants were unaccounted for, while only 3,000 organs were available for transplants that year in all of China. They published an update in 2016, bringing the numbers of transplants that are unaccounted for to 60,000 to 100,000 transplants per year. And this summer, China was found guilty by a world tribunal of doctors, researchers, and human rights activists gathered in England. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo cited 1 million Uyghurs in concentration camps recently, and President Trump just spoke at the United Nations against religious persecution by governments, including their roles in committing murder. Through our research, we found that identification, trafficking, hunting, and quarantine of human beings for organ trafficking by China's regime exponentially increased with the use of artificial intelligence. To understand how AI and biometrics are used and how AI moves, read our book, AI, Trump, China, and the Weaponization of Robotics with 5G. What this basically can mean is that if the QR code system can contain your health data, and if your health data includes your blood type, your diet, your genetic history, then your family lineage can be mapped with somebody else's family lineage, and an organ donor could be selected from a pool of like a couple million Falun Gong practitioners, because it's not like a race thing, Falun Gong. Anybody, I think, can just join. So that's what AI is doing. And it's not only like one kidney that's harvested. The whole body is harvested. I was reading this article that said, that was talking about somebody, a so-called dissident, right? So all of the Falun Gong practitioners are dissidents. Is this thing recording? Yes. All of the Falun Gong practitioners are dissidents. Therefore, they're basically all open targets for organ harvesting, depending on what they've done or their ranking or their genetic history. So if I'm a corrupt official and I need a new organ, I can find a corrupt doctor. And that doctor can, using one of these AI programs that collates everybody's data, can take my blood, match it up with somebody else's, get my family history, match it up with somebody else's family history, and basically find the best possible donor. So I needed a new kidney or a new liver. That person then is captured and deemed enemy of the state. Their liver or their kidney is then harvested and transplanted into me. The corrupt doctor uses these kind of fake lung and fake blood machines, or blood transfusion machines, to keep the patient alive. And while the patient is slowly dying but having their breathing artificially regulated and their blood flow artificially regulated, the eyes are scooped out of the body as the human is still living. And the person's pretty conscious at this point, depending on the medication that they're using. So it's like they go in and they take your kidney, and you're like, my God, they're taking my kidney. And then the doctor says to the other person, take the other kidney. And you're like, what the fuck? That's going to kill me. So then they take your other kidney and they pull the kidneys out of your body. Then you hear the doctor saying, now scoop out the eyeballs. And the person either chooses or doesn't choose to scoop out the eyeballs. And as you slowly feel yourself dying, but being artificially kept alive, the organs are removed out of your body and sold to people who need them all over the world. And AI can be used for this too. So some Israelis will go to China and they use blood type and sort of artificial intelligence, which is just like a very fast search system with data that will find matches easier to each other. Oh, hold on a second. And then gather that data as I thought somebody was barging in the door here, talking about these things. It makes me paranoid. So that's the hell. And it's not like AI is some magical thing. It's just a data set that is distributed into the cloud and people gain access to it. And whoever needs that data matches their data with that data. And the faster that the computing power can find a match. So it's not like some doctor looking at you going, you know what? I think you could maybe use Joe's organ. it's not that type of decision. It's like, here's your history, here's your ailment, here's your future prognosis. Based on all of that data, we have this candidate here who happens to be an enemy of the state, who has the same predilections as you. Do you want to choose this person? Because we got like 10 more. That's the hell. I've been looking into this for so long that it's kind of become normal for me, but it's horrific. And when we just look at the data, we can remove ourselves from the emotional aspect of this. But when you think about organ trafficking, think about a guy or a girl or a man or a woman strapped to a medical table and having all of his organs ripped out of his body super efficiently, and then those get sold to people who don't even know a human being was sacrificed on some sort of AI-based religious procedure, medical procedure. All right. So that's what I mean by hell. And the heaven aspect of all of this is avoiding all of that. And the avoidance of all that is a decentralization, not a centralization. So here's an example of heaven by means of avoiding the previous thing. This is how boring it gets. Like what I was just talking about to me is pure terror. Some drunken government official in some building somewhere soliciting doctors on the take to find people that can be deemed enemies of the state so we can sacrifice them so I can continue my illicit government activities. Whoa. Whoa, and it's real, here's an example of heaven, and it's a very short one, because when you see heaven, you know heaven. I'm not a religious person generally, maybe a little bit more than I used to be, but I'm not like this. This is our way to heaven. I just mean a heavenly example. This is an example in Japan, where I live. Self-driving bus. I did that last time. Self-driving bus. Yeah, self-driving tits. It's the same joke. This bus just drives themselves. You know what I'm saying, boys? Am I wrong, fellas? Self-driving bus field test in Japan. August 21st, 2019, Fujisawa, Japan. An autonomous driving bus runs alongside Katase Enoshima Beach at a press preview in Fujisawa in Kanagawa Prefecture, suburban Tokyo on Wednesday, August 21st, 2019. Kanagawa government, Odakyu Electric Railway, and SoftBank's SB Drive started a field test in the autonomous driving bus service between Katase Beach and Enoshima Island through the end of this month. That's it. The reason why I say this is an example of heaven, because you have cross collaboration and it's open. Odakyu Rail, which operates railway in that area. You have a telecom company which provides the wireless communication services through radio frequency, which is a lot more secure. And then you also have the Kanagawa government. So it's government cooperation. And it's for tourists between a station and an island. And in this case, a lot of people are like worried about self-driving cars and taxis just flying around the city. But in this case, it might be good because it's a bus. It runs slowly. It runs along a route, and it's to take tourists from a station to an island. It's not too far. It's a shitty job. Nobody wants to just be like waiting for all these people on vacation to get on your bus while you're working it's not even working your ass off, while you're sitting your ass off all day, hating everything about it because it's a super monotonous job. Everybody's super happy. All you're doing is just like honking at the occasional biker or something like that. But with sensors, you can just automatically slow the bus down. So that's it. Cross collaboration makes things efficient, gets rid of these shitty jobs. That's one thing about automation not a lot of people talk about. It gets rid of shitty jobs. It reduces the amount of meetings you need. It takes away paperwork, evil paperwork from your life. So there we go. And that's why it's so short. And that's why it's not sexy. And that's why it's just like, oh, there's a bus. There's a guy on the bus in case the bus goes wrong. So in that case right now, The job is still there. It's a shitty job, but maybe he can find something else to do. Lex Fridman from MIT basically learned how to play guitar while studying self-driving cars. That's it. That's it. That's the reason why it's heaven. There's really nothing to talk about. Here's another example of heaven, but it's very similar, but also a little bit different. Artificial intelligence is going to control on-demand bus services in Japan. And, don't think about artificial intelligence in terms of these like robots that think like humans running around. I think about artificial intelligence the way I learned from Kai-Fu Lee, who wrote the book China, Silicon Valley, and the New World Order. I know the title's creepy, but just think about it as a tool. It's like electricity. If we think about like lightning bolts flying out of the sky and being like, oh, one of these days, several hundred years ago, those lightning bolts are going to be just perfectly harnessed and running through our houses and not falling out of the walls. You'd be called crazy. It's the similar thing. It's just automated data that triggers a response based on your desire. So this is the on-demand bus. The Mitsubishi Corporation has set up a joint venture company that will use artificial intelligence to control on-demand bus services in Japan. The company, called Next Mobility, has been established by Mitsubishi and the Nishi Nippon Railroad Company, a major Japanese bus operator. The joint venture will start a 1-year trial in April at Island City in the Higashi ward of Fukuoka City. In a statement Wednesday, Mitsubishi said that the AI would be used to automatically generate routes in real time based on passenger requests that are made through a smartphone app. Deep learning will be used to collate operational data on both traffic conditions and passenger destinations. This, Mitsubishi added, would help buses to run in a more efficient way the more they are used. The project is being sponsored by Nissan, whose Nissan Caravans will be used in the pilot. The vehicles will be driven by taxi drivers from the Fukuoka Nishitetsu Taxi Company. New innovations and ideas are slowly but surely changing the way people move around. And there we go. That's it. This is kind of interesting. It's a little bit different from the previous version. The previous version is just like, get off the station, get on the bus, get off at the island, tourists. Go do your touristy shit. But this is more for inner city mobility, where instead of the buses run on the standardized routes, the routes of a bus are generated in real time based on demand. So if you have 4 or 5 locations and you have people interacting with those locations, the bus can sort of circulate around those locations to deliver people to those locations more efficiently. That's it. That's all it is. The idea of downloading an app to do it, though, is kind of a ball ache, and registering your data. It's kind of like it's like getting a membership card just to get on the bus. You get on the bus and you're like, excuse me, sir, do you have a membership card? No, but can I just pay you? No, not without a membership card. Well, then fuck you. I'm not getting on this bus. So that's the hurdle. But maybe in future, like your identification can be certification. It should be, actually. You don't need a license to ride a bus. Although showing your ID every time you want to get on a bus is kind of a ball ache too. Those are the hurdles. But it's not like it's the most evil thing I've ever heard. Like, it's just like, yeah, we have too many buses. They're taking up the streets. Too many lights are changing and not enough buses are moving. What if we just automated a bus route using our phones and see how that works? Makes sense. Makes total fucking sense. Next is another heavenly example. This one comes to us from, it's a weird CNBC India report that's going into Japan to go to a cucumber farm where a Japanese engineer has developed an AI system to categorize as cucumbers. The Indian reporter has a funny way of saying the word cucumber. Your challenge, listener, is this. Can you find her funny way of saying cucumber?
Cut it here. And the Koike farm has developed their own ranking system and can sort cucumbers in 8 categories. Why is it so important to be this precise? Well, buyers will only purchase a specific kind of cucumber. For instance, Hokkaido told me that a high-end sushi restaurant requires their cucumbers to be straight without any bends. Traditionally, this sorting process is labor-intensive. But Makoto, who has worked as an engineer in a Japanese automobile company, decided to combine his knowledge of coding along with a machine learning model to automate this process. His knowledge of coding along with a machine learning model to automate this process.
This is a very time-consuming and manual-intensive work to sort out cucumbers, and I want to make it efficient. I decided to use AI TensorFlow so that we could decide on the rank of cucumbers based on their quality by taking images and running an image recognition. TensorFlow collects data and then decides which rank the cucumber belongs to, so the overall sorting becomes more efficient.
So Makoto's model is trained on thousands of images of different types of cucumbers and uses image recognition to classify these cucumbers accurately into ranks. While sorting is only one part of the process, going forward, Makoto's vision is to use AI to solve many other problems on his parents' farm and optimize the process of even providing water inside the greenhouse. What Makoto is doing on his parents' farm is just an example of how an individual developer can use AI in a small family business.
And there we go. By the way, sorry, I kind of screwed it up in there. But the way she talks, she says Makoto. The Japanese name is Makoto. And of course, she says cucumber. And it's kind of interesting because I know a lot about Indian English. I had to study it in my previous job. And the way I learned how to understand it was to listen to Indian news, and then try to talk like how they talk. It's like, this evening in Mumbai, we bring you the latest in the news. And that way I could understand what they were saying. Indian English, as a sideline, is some of the best English in the world. It's even technically better, although I don't prefer it because I'm from the area of North American English, which is highly idiomatic and relies on a lot of he, she, it, they, and we're not sure about this path we're on. That's really hard for many people who don't speak English to understand. Whereas if you are a native speaker, you can kind of intuit what I mean. It's North American English is very intuitive, but Indian English is very technical. It's colonial. It has that spice of the British curry that they introduced. Yeah. So, anyways, basically to get back to the point here. That farmer, he used to be an engineer. Maybe he got sick of the life of working at a factory, decides to go back to his hometown with his parents who might be aging. They can't work as well. And he realizes that there's a lot of capacity to improve cucumber growth, but there's not enough labor. So he just designs a program that can classify the cucumbers easier so they can put them in their boxes and sell them to the sellers at a faster rate. That's all it is. But it's AI that's going to replace all of our jobs and murder us in the streets. No, it's just that's this sexy stuff. Again, it's not like I want to report on this cucumber farm, but after seeing all of this fake news and dishonest people and salacious, reactionary, emotional targeting of artificial intelligence, it's obviously done by people who either don't care or don't even understand it from a basic level, which is very disappointing, I must say. Very, very disappointing. Let's take a look next at how AI is being used to improve. We're going to run through this one pretty quick to make the nuclear industry in Japan more transparent. Ever since the Fukushima disaster, which I was here for, by the way, when you see a nuclear power plant blow up on the news and you're 250 kilometers away and you're like, what do I do? This is crazy, It kind of numbs you to a lot of reactionary news after a while, to be honest, because we're fine. The Nuclear Regulation Authority, the NRA in Japan, They don't care in Japan if you name your things after controversial names, like the construction company in Japan called the KKK. It just means something nothing to do with the KKK. But they insist on calling it the KKK. So sometimes you can see these construction trucks driving around. They're all dirty, and it's just like emblazoned on the side as KKK. It's like, yeah, I work for the KKK, and I want to speak to the NRA. In Japan, that means you're a construction worker that wants to speak to the Nuclear Regulation Authority. The Nuclear Regulation Authority, or the NRA, has begun to use AI for automated transcriptions of its private meetings that are held with electric utility representatives in the course of safety screenings and other processes. While members of the public only had minimal access to what were discussed at such meetings in the past, from April 8th, they were able to use the entire text on the NRA's website. The policy change, implemented in response to a call for increased transparency, is attracting attention in an attempt to improve the way administrations disclose information. The minutes of the first meeting released on April 8th were for an interview on the Takahama nuclear power plant conducted April 2nd that lasted about 4 minutes. These types of details are so precise, like a train. Annotations of the text explain that the record was a direct result of an automated transcription and that the statements had not been confirmed by their speakers. I don't know what that means. However, there were some setbacks with the use of the new technology as the AI mistranscribed from 75A to 100A as from 75 yen to 100 yen. In Japanese, the pronunciation might be similar. And, quote, there were shortcomings, end quote, to, quote, we have received it, end quote, because of the pronunciation of there were shortcomings, itaranai ten atta, there were, and then we received it, itadaite atta. And that happens, but furthermore, nonsensical phrases had crept up into the text due to noises, short responses, and stammering. However, the general outline was understandable. The NRA, Freedom, has been disclosing image recordings and minutes of its official meetings and press conferences in principle. On such meetings, conducted about 4,800 times a year, adding up to at least 10,000 hours and at least 10 times the amount of official conference, served as actual prior consultations. The AI can now transcribe difficult technical terms and abbreviations as it learned the minutes of meetings over the past 3 years. The technology achieved about 90% accuracy in a preliminary test. Although mistranscriptions will be included, some parts of the text will be deleted upon review, including information that needs to be kept secret for safety reasons. So basically, instead of one person having to spend their entire life transcribing super boring meetings and uploading all of that into files that never get read by anyone, this AI program, over time, mind you, at first it kind of sucked, but then it improved, was able to provide to the public automatically information about meetings at their nuclear power plants that, if desired, is available to the public. So again, you don't need to have some stenographer there transcribing every meeting and then putting those notes into folders that never get read by anyone. Nobody wants that job anyways. And if they do, it's just not a long-term project for any individual in life. So they automated it, and YouTube has done the same thing. I used to have to listen to those Indian reports, learn every word, transcribe it, and then print it out to people who are paying for me. And if there's a typo anywhere, people get angry, and then I have to redo it all. But with the YouTube function, I can just put up a video, hit the C button on a YouTube video, and if there's subtitles available, it will automatically put it up there, and it's way better than what the news does with their laggy, shitty, hand-typed transcriptions to what people are doing and saying, because there's a delay feed, right? So if you think about it, if 1 billion videos get watched on YouTube every day, and let's say most of them are in English, most of the world right now can just stream a YouTube video, hit a C button on their computer, and all of a sudden they get translation or they get subtitles as much as they want with no delay. And there might be some mistakes, but it's about 95 to 99% accurate now. So it's another example of heaven, and nobody even notices it. And people just use it naturally. They're just like, oh yeah, I'll hit this C button and get automatic transcriptions and translations. Of course I will. But AI is going to destroy us and take all of our jobs. That's the weird thing. Let's take is that it for today? The last one's kind of weird. I'll just go through it very quickly. It's worthwhile because this idea of AI is connecting people across platforms. It's the train company and the bus company and a car company developing a self-driving bus. That type of thing is really interesting, and it's not something that used to happen as much, but the technology demands it, right? We have this train route, and then we need to get the tourists from the station to this place. Okay, we're a bus company. We might be able to help you with that, but we need very advanced radio frequency transmissions and a platform. Do you guys know how to make a platform? Not really. Well, let's get the telecom company in here. They can develop a platform and provide us with secure connectivity and improving connectivity in the future. Okay, sounds good. It's very interesting to me. Tokyo, Japan-based DENA has developed a program to direct cruising taxi drivers to streets where they are most likely to find customers. It's not for sex. The platform differs from other technologies that aim to connect drivers to customers because it provides personalized verbal guidance, as if a long-time cab driver was giving advice on where fares are likely to be standing and what rival drivers might be doing to get there first. Getting there first is the main thing for taxi drivers, right? DENA developed the app from its experience running multiplayer online video games in which each player responds to the action of others who are constantly moving, right? So they might be using one of those PUBG kind of games where you have like something that falls, a crate that falls in, and then everybody maneuvers to get it, and they see where everybody's going, and people get positioning and stuff like that. In addition, the DENA program draws on data from partner companies about nearby taxis to make rapid judgments tailored to a specific driver that can be updated quickly, said DENA engineer Kazutaka Era. Quote, making sure it's reliable and timely, even when the number of vehicles wanting to receive the message, the data increases a lot. That is what the game companies do when running online games. So again, it's not an example of some fucking AI program determining your future and killing your family just because you wrote the wrong thing on the internet. Most of these AI programs are just simply data accelerator programs that provide information to the right people at the right time more efficiently. That's all it is. And all of these people who are saying that AI is the end of the human race, and they caused quite a stir. These are the fakers. And the hell does exist, as we unveiled with certain aspects. Most of the Chinese AI, I think, is really cool. But this type of super surveillance camera that can link to social credit systems that maybe then corrupt officials can utilize to find organs based on quote-unquote political dissidents and then rip all their organs out and sell them on the black market to, rich Israelis who don't even know what they're getting into, by the way, is an example of hell. So yes, the idea of AI hell exists. It's so sexy, it's crazy. It's so crazy, it's sexy. And the AI heaven, meaning dodging those things, is super boring, and we're using it already, and most people don't even care about the automation because it just provides us citizens to interact with people we don't need to interact with less frequently. Of course, we like going to the pub and having a beer. Do you like going down to your local government agency and interacting with some clueless bureaucrat? Do you mind if those people are automated, even if your taxes don't go up, just as so long as you don't have to interact with them anymore? That's the beauty of AI, folks. And that's going to conclude it for this episode of the Matty B Files. Thank you for listening to episode 142, Cruising the AI Abusing Newsin'. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you next time. Like and subscribe.
Falcon Passport. ride the car into the gear. I won't be doing much different this year. Take the corners nice and steady. The first a Mickey and then a Larry. Distant spices roll around my mouth. Memories of these take the mind down south. Beneath the waves of beer, laugh the beaches across the toilets in a broken English. Paths to the old familiar have been tread. Get home, eyes closed, make my way to bed. Waiting there, black hair, got them blankets everywhere. Ooh, yeah, yeah. I got a few things to do, gonna get them done. Wearing the same pair of shoes, leave the sapphire blade behind the whip display. On a base of the railway to Bombay for me, plan bed here like a shell, like wait for another day. Roll out the tops, sit in the parks. Off the penguin parade disembark. Open up some containers. Oh, those nasty food animal trainers. In the city ain't got no place for cat. Pay no mind, but replace it with a plan. Veranda herbs and their patio spices across the calls of their motorcycles and oh yeah, yeah. I got a few things to do, gonna get them done. Wearing the same pair of shoes, leave the sapphire blade behind the window display. Put a pace on the railway to Bombay for me, plan bed here like a shell, like wait for another day. So the railway to Bombay can wait for another